Welcome, friends, to episode 2 of Rewildology. Today, I'm chatting with Dave Johnson, who may just be the nicest person I've ever met in my life. We explore his personal journey of discovering what he truly wanted to do in life, why he made the big career shift to starting his own nonprofit, and what it was like growing up in a conservative household as a gay man. So, a little more about Dave. Dave is a zookeeper who has been working with the pachyderm collection in Denver for over 22 years. He is also the executive director of the Katie Adamson Conservation Fund, which is a nonprofit that works on wildlife initiatives and global partnerships to help save species and provide sustainability options for the local people wanting to make a difference. He writes kids' books and leads community trips abroad to highlight their work. Dave wants to spread his passion to the next generation of animal nerds. So here's my convo with Dave. This is actually my first time using this software, so
Okay.
we're figuring it out. We're all figuring it out together. Um, but yeah, so thanks again, Dave, for coming on. And yes, I'll toast to that. So I see you drink your beer. Eh,
Cheers, cheers, Brooke.
cheers. Cheers to a great conversation. Um, yeah, so kind of just to start out, because even though you and I are both in Colorado, neither of us are from Colorado.
True.
And from what I remember, you're from the Appalachians as well.
Yep. North Carolina.
Yep, just the other side, just the other side. I'm
Mhm,
from Southern Ohio, so the complete
mhm.
opposite side of the range. But tell me about your childhood. Like, I don't think we've had a chance to really talk about how you grew up, where you grew up, and yeah.
Okay. I, I was born in Florida, but, my mom and dad divorced, and I moved back to my mom's, hometown of Hot Springs, North Carolina when I was in kindergarten. So that's where I developed my accent. So that's, in the Appalachians. It's right on the Appalachian Trail. It's, right in the Smokies. It's, just beautiful country. I was a whitewater rafting guide growing up and just spent a lot of time outdoors, there in Western North Carolina. We were 6 miles away from Tennessee. So that was where I grew up, and lots of deer and bear and birds and all kinds of really great wildlife around. I did a mountain lion sensitivity study with the Western North Carolina Nature Center when I was 15, 16 years old. I volunteered, got my state driver's license. I was driving around a state truck when I was 16, uh, taking mountain lion urine and fecal samples from the nature center up and putting them up along the Blue Ridge Parkway to see if there were any eastern mountain lions left. National Geographic was going to do a study, and so they needed a lot of partners out trying to get tracks. I did clay or casts of tracks of mountain lions that supposed cougars that I would encounter, and would put film canisters with cotton and put urine in there in the middle of a big scraped area to where I could get footprints and stuff. And I was doing that in high school. So I was always just this big animal nerd. Worked at the nature center, got a degree in wildlife biology at Chapel Hill, and then just started my career working with animals. I just had always Brooke loved them. Always done art with animals. Always read books about animals. Any paper that I had to write for school was always about. I remember in college I did like a 15-page research paper on Russian wildlife. So I always was tying in my passions with everything that I did, and wanted to go to zoos and national parks, all growing up. And my parents just couldn't figure me out. My mom said I gave my pacifier to a spider monkey and got her in trouble when I was little. I climbed a fence and ran on a fence line with cheetah, got my mom in trouble. I she heard me laughing and she couldn't find me, and I bought all these crackers and stuffed them in my pockets and laid out
Stop
in a
it.
herd of deer. And my mom was just
Oh
like,
my gosh.
I was like, 5 years old in the middle of all these deer and letting them eat the crackers out of my pockets. So that was uh, that was it. But I think the worst though was I pretended I was an ostrich for about 3 days. She said so. I had
What?
I had wings. I would walk around, I wouldn't use a fork, I would peck at my food, and she took me to a therapist because I was an ostrich.
Really?
Yes, I was an ostrich for 3 days. I was her little ratite, so, I wouldn't
How
but,
old were you when this happened?
I was still in Florida, so I was probably 4, 5 years old, but
Wow.
she said the doctor was like, "Hey, he'll outgrow this phase." And my mom just always loved to say, "You never did." Now you do this as a career, and you get paid to work with animals and travel around the world, doing conservation stuff. So it's kind of funny, but that was kind of my background. Just always trying to get something involved with animals and that field.
Wow, that's awesome. Um, Now it's okay if you don't if it didn't, but was your father, did he, like, support you during this stuff? Did he stay in Florida when you went to the Carolinas, or
He did. He stayed. My mom, she got pregnant really early, right out of high school, and so when they didn't work, she moved back home, and my grandparents really stepped up and took care of me and my brother while my mom went to college, and so we lived right there with my grandparents, and my mom was driving back and forth to school. My dad was still in Florida, but still very much in our lives, and then my mom remarried when I was about 8, and Frank, my stepdad, really raised me and my brother. And him and my mom
That's
were very
wonderful.
supportive of all my animal stuff. So they were, yeah, very very excited about everything. They always wanted me to be a vet or do something that made more money. They were hoping I
Feel ya.
would, yeah, I would pursue something that had more zeros in the salary.
Yep.
Some of my buddies from college started going to dental school, and one of them left wildlife with me and went on to dental school and became a dentist. And my mom and dad were like, "Doesn't that sound awesome?" And I was like, "No, that does not sound awesome." I said, "I do not want to be a dentist. I want to do something in the field." So I worked at a zoo in South Carolina for 4 years after college, and then took off for Alaska and did radio telemetry work with bears for the Bureau of Land Management. So tried to use my wildlife degree. Took a 9-month seasonal position up there, but didn't really like it. I missed people. When they drop you off in a chopper and you're out with one other bear biologist that's kind of, antisocial. He wanted me to stay away from him. Here's your gold pan. Here's your shotgun. You put your tent way over there. I was like, wow, this really kind of sucks. I kind of miss the community. So that's when I realized that I wanted to use my degree more for conservation education, be more around a community like a zoo. So went to Kentucky and worked at a wildlife education center, and then came to Denver and thought, gosh, I'm a little tumbleweed. I need to at least stay 5 years in Denver, and now I've been here almost 23 years. So great zoo, great community, wonderful place. It's like taking the Appalachians and putting them on steroids. Now I got the Rocky Mountains. you
I
know, uh,
feel ya.
I was like, wow, I can have more wildlife and bigger mountains and more fun. And so when I came out here, we were backpacking around the country, and we climbed Mount Meeker and camped out up in Rocky Mountain National Park. And I went to a Rockies game back in '93, and I was like, I want to live there one day. And 5 years later, I got the job and moved to Colorado. So kept it always in my mind that hey, that Denver area looks pretty interesting. So never
Something about
left.
the Rockies.
hmm
There's something about the Rockies, it calls to your heart. Like, I think once you come out here once, you're like, "Well, this is gonna sometime be my home in some way, shape, or form," especially sounds like 'cause you were kind of all over the place, and
yeah.
somehow you ended up here. So was it a job that officially brought you out here, or, what
Yep.
officially, or did you, like, kinda just on the wind came out here, or
No, I was working in Kentucky, and we had indigenous wildlife. So I was working with bison and elk and birds of prey. I was doing a lot of stuff with peregrine falcons and eagles, and of course, I'm kind of the love the one you're with kind of guy. Every time I'm with different animals, I'm like, oh, this is it. This is the animals I want to work with forever. This is my species and this is my jam. And then I'm like, oh, wait, shiny. And I go to another job. And
Yes.
so the job here in Denver was with pachyderms. And so in South Carolina, I had worked with African, Asian elephants, white rhino. So I had experience. And so I just came out here and took the big mammal test with the city, and I think there was about 65 of us that took the test for one spot, and so you had to be proficient enough in all your animal knowledge to get into the top 5, and then they looked at your interviews. And so they granted me an out of state interview, and once I tested in the top 5, they called me back and they hired me for the pachyderm spot.
Wow.
So I packed up all my stuff and moved west to Colorado, and have been here ever since. It's
Oh
been
my gosh.
pretty amazing.
And that was in 98, correct?
Yep, 98.
98? Right.
Hmm.
Oh, that's wonderful. So you just came out here, didn't know anybody. You're like, this is the job for me. I got the mountains. I'm
Hmm.
coming out here.
Yep.
Oh my God, that's
Co-
awesome.
Coming out, the people that I visited with and climbed Mount Meeker with, I two of my soccer buddies had gotten married out here, Tracy and Scott, and so they were in this area briefly and then moved away. But so they were like my only connection here. And when we were going through, their brother Scott said, "Hey, let's stop in Denver and see my sister and her husband." And so we had all played soccer together growing up. So that led me to going to the Rockies and climbing Mount Meeker and seeing Rocky Mountain National Park, and just got that excitement for this area of the country. And just to get out of the Carolinas, growing up in a little town, always around your family, I think it gave me a little bit of wanderlust.
I can I can relate to that very strongly. I don't
How
know if
long have you
anyone
been out
ever
here
asked
now?
you.
How long have you been out here now, Brooke?
Almost exactly 5 years.
Okay.
Our, like, 5th year Colorado anniversary is in, like, a week or 2 or something like that.
Nice. Okay.
So, yeah, I mean, if anywhere has felt like home, it's here.
Hmm.
And it sounds like you definitely have the exact same feelings. It just attracts people who are very outdoorsy,
Hmm.
who just love playing outside.
Hmm.
Because even right now, because so we're recording this in December of 2020, everything is still so shut down, and Denver is pretty shut down.
Yeah, it is.
And but we still have the mountains. So,
Hmm.
just as long as you go out with your mask and you're smart. I mean, I wear a buff
Hmm.
like when we're hiking, but you
Hmm.
can still do that. So there's still some
Hmm.
sort of freedom that we have here, which I know I appreciate. I don't
Hmm.
know how much you're able with how much you do. I don't know if you're able to still to still get out in the mountains much or do you at
Well,
all? Do you have
I still do. We're still climbing 14ers, and we started doing that climbing for rhinos stuff. So we were doing 14ers and getting pledges and donations and everything. That led me to climb Kilimanjaro. So the whole mountain thing, being here, led to this whole offshoot of the conservation reality. Is that, hey, I can lead people up these mountains, and we can get people to pledge, a certain amount of money. So I took 20 people to Tanzania back in 2016, and we had 12 of us make it to the summit of Kilimanjaro, and we raised
amazing.
$10,000 for black rhinos. So it was all we put in, and just the outdoor vibe here. The running, the races. I ran a marathon here back in 2010. I did the Colfax Marathon, and so I made elephant shirts, and we raised $10,000 that year. So it just became something like, wow, I can put my love of nature and exercise and outdoors coupled with my conservation passion and get this whole community involved and invested in making the planet just a better place for everybody. And that's what really excited me, because not only do people in Colorado love the outdoors and love getting outside and getting to see wildlife and getting hiking, but they also have this mindset, Brooke, that they want to help, they want to make a difference, and they want to be a part of something bigger than themselves. And that's where this whole connectivity, this whole uh, sense of family has come about over the past almost 23 years that I've been here. So it's been amazing. Um, when you can have an event now and invite some people out and you end up having 400 people come through the gates. I mean, that's pretty spectacular. Lots of hugging and that we can't do anymore. Lots of
Lots of people love you for sure.
lots of people toasting and hugging in person rather than me and you doing toasting and hugging virtually.
Virtually. I know. I promise, as soon as COVID's up and we all are cool and healthy, we are
Hmm.
going to be seeing each other in person and we're going to
Yes.
be doing this in person whenever the next update is. Um, yeah, so tell me about that transition. So I was a zookeeper for a while,
Hmm.
and we have very similar personalities. So I think that I might know kind of what you're going to say, but what made you want to engage the community? Like, what was that inspiration deep in your soul? Because having been a zookeeper, there was a lot of my coworkers that were just fine taking care of whatever the collection was.
Hmm.
Whatever, zookeeping job I had at the time, they were just fine taking care of them and not dealing with anybody. But you've gone above and beyond. Like, you've gone above the call of duty. Why? Why did you decide to do that?
I think for me, I want to spread my passion. I want it to be infectious, Brooke. You know, you only have a finite amount of time. I'm 52 now. I don't know how much longer my zookeeper career is going to be. There's going to be a time when I'm not going to want to haul hay and shovel and pitchfork, and I'm going to want that next step. But for me, I think it was having a captive audience that wanted to learn and wanted to be inspired. And you just see that with the kids at the zoo. You see that with your students and the people in Colorado, that just they want to be just big sponges, and they will stop you and speak to you and ask you questions and keep you at a demo like 15 minutes longer, and you're supposed to be doing something else, but you realize that more people are coming up and more people are asking questions. And I think just like with our personality type, you want to talk, you want to engage. And for me, that's the thing that I think sometimes in your career you have to mark some things off your list. And when I went up to Alaska and was out in the wilderness, I mean, I couldn't believe they paid me to be out there, collaring bears and canoeing and fishing and panning for gold, waiting for a bear to get in our trap. It was a dream, but it was not a career choice that I could see myself being happy. I needed to surround myself with people of the same mindset. And for me, it just has always been about wanting to make that connection and excite people about animals, excite them about wildlife, and in whatever way I could, just talking the ear off of people at different zoos, when I was a little kid, and my mom trying to get me away from zookeepers, because I wanted to be them. I couldn't believe that they had a job that they got to do that every day. And so for me, it was all about just wanting to spread that passion around, I think. And having the gift of gab. I mean, when you're from the Appalachians, I guess you can chatter.
Oh my gosh. Just give me I mean, my bourbon is tucked away in the cabinet, but you get that out. One, my accent will come back, as you can tell, it's come back a little bit, and I feel you.
Well,
Anyone come
luckily
back
mine's all
home.
gone. I don't even have one anymore, so that's
You
good.
do. No, it's still embraced there in your heart. Now you still have your accent. I love it. I love it. Just reminds me of home. Um,
When I do the elephant demos and rhino demos and stuff and talk to people, I sometimes try to joke around and tell them I'm from Southern Colorado, and they're like, all their heads are like, "No." I was like, "Yeah, like Trinidad." I said, "Pueblo." They're like, "Mm-mm. Farther
it's like,
south
we
than that,
know
boy."
better. Yeah. It's like, keep going, keep going. We don't
Farther,
claim
yeah, yeah,
you.
yeah.
We don't claim you. Oh, that's so good. No, I feel you. I totally feel you. I think it's probably one of the reasons why we're such great friends. It's like, huh, we get each other. Like, I think we could take each other home and it would be so much fun.
Instant rapport.
Yeah,
It really was.
yeah, from day one. Um, oh my gosh, yeah. So, I mean, the next part, I mean, I'm thinking about day one. So, day one, I met you. I was working at the Children's Museum at the time,
Mhm,
and my incredible boss, Kim, she had just gotten in your kids' books
mhm,
into the museum gift shop.
mhm.
And they're like, I just met this amazing person, Brooke. You need to meet him. I had just gotten to Colorado, and the museum was the first job that I was grateful enough to get. I
Mhm,
mean, it wasn't in my field, but it was still a nonprofit, and I got some
mhm.
really great experience. And I also got to meet you in the process, which is incredible. So, kind of bringing it back from your books back, what is the Katie Adamson Conservation Fund? How did it start? How did it come to be? Like, I know it's your baby. Yeah, tell me about Katie,
Well,
everything.
um, we started, I ran that marathon and we went to Nepal in 2010. And we started really, I started realizing, it took 4 people that first year and then went back to Nepal and took 12 the second year. And I was like, wow, this is fun. This is very engaging, taking people out. We were going to open up a new elephant exhibit. And so I wanted people to be in range country with Asian elephants, greater one horn rhinos, clouded leopards, saurus cranes, all these animals that were going to be at our zoo. So, so I thought about, taking people over on these trips. And I work with the Zoo Explorer Scouts. And so I had also worked with teens in South Carolina at my zoo. So I'd always wanted to help be a mentor. And one of the kids that we had at the zoo in our Explorer program was Katie Adamson. And so she had worked her way up through the post. She had interned in hoofstock and primates. She had just been doing some amazing stuff, and she was in college at CSU. And Katie ended up getting a Ewing sarcoma. She got a childhood cancer. She fell off her horse, and upon X-rays and stuff, they found a tumor, and she fought it off, Brooke, a few times and kept going back to school, wanted her wildlife degree, wanted so bad to go to Nepal. And then in 2014, Katie finally succumbed to the cancer. So at that time, she was 25 when it finally took her from us. But at that point, we had been to Nepal several times. We were getting a bigger community. I'd come out with Elephants of Denver in 2012. And so I knew I started wanting to write books about conservation, and just didn't want Katie's passing to go unnoticed. I didn't want to lose that. And I knew her parents, I knew her mom and dad, I knew her sister Heather. So went to IHOP with them and just told them I've got an idea. I want to start a nonprofit and use my kids' books, go to schools, and use these trips. And their family was still in shock. And Colleen Adamson, you could tell sitting there is she was just so not wanting to talk about stuff like this. And they graciously let us use their daughter's name for our organization, and we're we're very moved, I think, by that, by us wanting to do that. But I think it took several years for John and Colleen to go to Nepal, to start wanting to be involved. Heather's on the board now. John, Katie's dad, was on our board. They've been in Nepal twice. They bought South Africa safaris with us, so they're going to go to South Africa with us. So now I think for them, now it's been 6 years, and I think part of the pain and the hurt by her loss is now replaced by passion. I think now they're fully engaged in this, and it's all in their daughter's name. And so for me, I was looking for something. I wanted to do something more, and I needed something to get my butt off the couch more. I needed that. I needed that poke that to make me write more books and do more for the world. And Katie's passing was my wake up call.
Wow. I think it also just goes to show your incredible character by, I mean, you could have named your organization in anybody's name, but the fact that you did it in her name is pretty incredible. Like, I can't imagine how many years were you around Katie? How
Uh, she had joined Explorers at 14. And so I had known her for 11 years. She was in Zoo Crew
wow.
at 13 years old and then joined Explorers at 14. And she was 25. So I'd gone down to see her when she was going through her chemo. I was trying to get her positive and get her thinking about what things were going to be like post cancer. And I'd bring her, Nepal pictures and just talk about our trips. And she just so wanted to go, but she never got strong enough, Brooke, to go after that. So it was just, looking for something more to do, and then having this young girl's spirit just kind of awaken something in me. And now Colleen and John are like family,
Mm,
to us. I mean, they really are. They've become just like a lot of the KACF community. It is a tight knit, wonderful group. I mean, when you go hiking and do the Bardia boot camp in Nepal, and you walk on these trails, and you have a tiger come out and roar at you, or you have a rhino run at you through the trees. I mean, it's very bonding.
yes.
It's like going to war, and
Yeah.
go back to the lodge, to Forest Hideaway, and have a drink together and talk about the cobra that we saw, or the tigers. And the it's just been an amazing, wonderful journey for me, to not only do the books, but also to expand people, get them out of their comfort zone. You got a volunteer at the zoo, Brooke, that talks to people about human elephant conflict or sustainability or conservation. It is one thing for them to read a pamphlet and try to impart some wisdom. It's another thing to take them to Nepal. It's another thing to see damage that elephants do to houses, or hear of people, meet somebody that lost their mom to a rhino, or lost their father to a leopard. Or it is a different world. And I think you bring everybody back, and they become just entrenched in the whole philosophy and the concept. And you create a bunch of conservation soldiers, and it has been life changing for me. It really has.
I really love that you bring that up, because I feel the exact same way, and I think it takes actually going to these places to really put it in context, because I used to be the same way. I used to be one of those, like, "How dare you want to kill an elephant? Like,
Hmm.
how dare you want to kill a lion? Like,
Hmm.
who do you think you are? These are these magnificent creatures. Here I am in my little small town bubble, not knowing any better,
Hmm.
and all I know is and still by the time I was in my former zoo career, I
Hmm.
still had that very closed-minded view as well. It wasn't until I started to travel that I realized that this is actually a real problem.
Hmm.
I I don't live with elephants.
Hmm.
I don't live with rhinos. The biggest predator, well, I guess wolves just moved across the border, which is very exciting. But the
Hmm.
biggest predator in our state is a mountain lion. Like,
Hmm.
who am I to judge someone else for
Right.
feeling the need to kill that animal? Like, I mean, I'm sure you feel the exact same way, like, if anything ever happened to Ray or one of your family members, like, how you would feel if an animal severely hurt or might have even killed somebody in your family. Like,
Yeah.
me, my background is in, predators, so especially, like, African predators, and I think the big change for me happened when I went to Namibia, and I saw what it took to keep everybody's livestock alive, which was like their currency, and also keep these predators alive, and how incredible of a system that it took to do that. And because I mean, one leopard taking out a head of cattle could be the difference of you sending your child to school and you not.
Mhm.
Like, I mean, this is literally life or death living with some of these animals that you and I just love so
Mhm.
much, just having grown up like, oh, I absolutely love. I mean, the Discovery Channel, all I did was watch Discovery Channel and lions and cheetahs and all kinds of stuff. So I mean, I was the very similar to you. And
Mhm.
so the fact that you bring people to Nepal and you have these experiences, I think that it just really goes to show and just show people what it's like to actually live with them. Like,
Mhm.
this is what it's like to live with them. Like, we can go to a zoo any day, and I love taking care of rhinos too, but it's different when you live with them. It's a very different story when you live with them. You know, like it's a
Uh-huh.
whole different ball game. And tigers, yes, this majestic tiger that's behind inch thick glass and strong bars that's never going to get to you.
Mhm.
But then you take people to Nepal and you show them what it's like and what conservation actually is. And God, that's why I just love your trip so much. And to speak of Nepal, how did that trip come to be? Like, what relationships did you form? Like, how did you start to bring people out there? Because that's not something that you just like conjure up on a whim.
Well, it was all about, the new Toyota Elephant Passage opening up, and we were getting a new species here. The zoo where I work had never had a greater one-horned rhino. So I started doing research about, we already had Asian elephants. I'd already worked with them for years at the zoo, Mimi and Dolly. But I was like, all right, we're getting these new animals in. Um, where do they coexist? What countries do rhinos and elephants live together at over in Asia? And I started research and I was like, oh crap, there's only two. It's just India and Nepal. So I started formulating this plan is to get people excited about the opening and about my kids' book, Elephants of Denver, about Mimi and Dolly. And I just wanted to up the game a little bit. And so went to India, checked it out. They had a lot of people doing conservation, a lot of money. Everything was really like a well-oiled machine. Nepal was different, Brooke. They didn't have much going on. They had just got out of a civil war. Maoist
Wow.
Maoist uprising had killed thousands of people there. There had been so much poaching. Rhino numbers were down. Tiger numbers were down. It was a different story. It actually was a little bit dangerous for us to go over. They were still advising people not to travel. So I was just going to take one of my keeper assistants, Chuck, with me. But then another one, Joanna, caught wind of it, and she said, "Well, me and my husband, we've been in Namibia. We've camped down on these dry river beds, with Dr. Leggett, and you're not going to scare us away from Nepal." And so the four of us went just to check it out, just to see what it was like. Go to Chitwan, go to Bardia, and me and Chuck talk about it all the time. I've been 11 times now to Nepal.
Wow.
I've taken 150 people over, but you go over there for the wildlife at first, but then what captures you are the people's everyday lives and wanting to help them problem solve. Not coming in, Brooke, with this Western philosophy of you poachers are bad and you're all horrible people, but being open minded enough when you travel to be like they're trying to feed their families, they're trying to send their kids to school. If that rhino horn will pay for 3 years of a salary over there, and put it into the black market, you've got to come up with different ways to connect with them and to make live wildlife more important than wildlife. And sometimes that's just making a connection, like we did with the Chapong. They said, "Hey, these guys are rhino poachers. Do something with them." They were like, "Go and meet them and try to figure something out." So we helped them build a fence to fence in some of their land. We paid for it, and actually one year, 2015, we actually helped put part of the fence in. We got them beehives for honey, and
Mm.
the bees keep elephants away from the community, and it provides them honey. And so every year we go back and we do a little bit more with them. We just had an art contest with the Chapong children to get them engaged. with conservation. And so to watch rhino poaching in just the 11 years we've been going, I mean, until this year, and with COVID and everything, they've had some rhino poaching in the park, but we went from 10 to 12 rhinos being killed annually in Chitwan to losing a rhino every other year. So, and that's just in, the 11 years that we've been going. We saw, just a great increase in, and to see people running rhinos out with fire and trying to get them away from the town, to then watching them feeding, planting plants so that they cross the river and coming and knocking on your door saying there's a rhino in our garden. And they're not trying to show throw fire at them anymore, but they're like waking up the tourists to come look at rhinos that are in their garden. So it was such a amazing change of philosophy. And if you keep going back every year, if you keep building on the positives, and you watch their children grow up, and you help, and they know that every year Dave's coming back with more people, and they're going to buy honey, and they're going to have an art contest with their kids, and they're going to come out and do these amazing things. And it's a community that cares about them on the other side of the world. And that makes such a difference for people, just that we believe in them, and sometimes that alone will keep them from going in the park and poaching. That alone will have people telling on each other, and having people, talk them out of going out and killing rhinos. So it's just been an amazing way to grow not only our KACF community, in and around Denver, but to keep building it and growing it to where that good feeling, those vibrations are felt everywhere that we travel. And that's what I want.
God, Dave, that was beautiful. That was awesome. So how I guess just for anybody who would want how did you make the connection? Like who did you connect with? Like who was the person that you were able to connect with that got you over to Nepal to show you these kinds of things? Like I would imagine that there was one incredible person that really changed it for you.
That person was Himanta Mishra, the author. He wrote Soul of the Rhino, and I had been introduced to Eric Dinerstein, and he's an author. And he said you should get up with Himanta Mishra, and from Nepal, but living in Virginia now. And so reached out to him, and he knew World Wildlife Fund Nepal in Sorha. He knew NTNC, the National Trust for Nature Conservation. And so, building this relationship with him, we flew him out to come and do a book signing, and had people meet him. And we met him in Nepal one year, and we had him just come out again last year. Brooke, he came out again to see us, and he stays with Chuck at Chuck's house, and Chuck's bed and
That's
breakfast.
awesome.
And so it was really Himanta Mishra that made the difference, because he opened up so many doors for us. Because I think I harassed him enough, through emails and phone calls, and just like, hey, I'm going over there. Who can I meet? Who can I talk to? And I'm sure he was like, God, this guy's annoying, but he's got so much passion behind this that I'll just throw him a bone. I'll give him a couple of names. We'll give him a deal, a conservation deal at some of the parks and stuff. So it ended up being, then we got our foot in the door, and that's when it was a game changer. We started meeting everybody, and that first year, Brooke, we raised about $10,000 with the KACF, and I was so excited, for our little zookeeper, zoo explorer scout, keeper assistant community to raise 10 grand, because I would never be able to give
Incredible.
$10,000 to anything that I love, and that philanthropic feel, is just like, oh my God, it became contagious, it's something I was like, I want more of that. And so the next year, Brooke, we went from 10,000 to 41,000. The next year after that, we made 89,000. And
Wow.
and so every year it just got bigger and bolder. And now it's amazing that I would get so excited about $100 donation. And now this year we got a $20,000 grant. We got a 10, we got a $10,000 grant. We got a new book grant for $6,000. And it's just, it's become to where, our KACF organization, now we've gotten out of just doing elephant and rhino stuff. And now we're working with frogs in Ecuador. We're working with African wild dogs. We're working with penguins, and we've got this whole movement. And a lot of it is around the Zodiac kids. And this book has 12 animals for totems for people to engage with conservation by their birthday. And that is a global thing. Everybody has a birthday. Everybody knows when their birthday is. So if you're an April baby, that's our elephant month. So all the April kids can have elephants as their totem. If you're December, you're a rhino person. So that's your totem. So now we're trying to help all 12 species. And so when I go to schools, I don't have little Sally look at me and like, well, what are you doing for my birthday? It's in June. It's like, well, Sally, those are penguins, and we're helping with sandcob, and we're sending zookeepers to work down in South Africa with penguins, and they're putting them back to the wild. And so I can have a story like that for any kid that asks me about their birthday. And so that's what has fueled this movement into all these other realms.
So the Zodiac Kids, from what I remember, that is not your first book, correct? What was your first book?
The first book I wrote was Elephants of Denver, and it was the one about Mimi and Dolly and building a new facility for our incoming bull elephants, going from free contact to protected, and just getting the community behind us getting a new exhibit and new animals. So that was about Mimi and Dolly, and that came out in 2012. And then I wrote Nariani, and it was about a little orphan rhino that was found in Nepal the first year we went, 2010. She had gotten washed away from her mom in the monsoons, had a broken leg, and they were taking care of her at the NTNC. And so I wanted to write a book about her and her coming to live with people and being a princess in the animal world, and that she changed all the lives for all the animals because she came into the human world and changed people's hearts and minds about wildlife. And so she kind of took one for the team. It's like, sorry, girl, you got a broken leg, you got washed away from your mom, but you are going to be a princess because you're going to change attitudes. And she went on to live at the Central Zoo in Kathmandu. So and then I wrote the Zodiac Kids. I think for me, Brooke, I started off with just Denver and the zoo, and then I moved to Nepal, and then I wrote something global. And I think it's been kind of mirroring how our work has been and how it's expanded. And I didn't want to write a book that wouldn't mean anything to uh, to somebody in another country or another state or another school. I wanted them to be able to resonate and be able to have these books be something. No matter if you're a kid in New York or a kid in Costa Rica, or somebody growing up anywhere on the planet. And I think we're moving even in a different direction now because this next book is called I Am Katie, and it's about Katie turning the baton, the torch over to the next generation. And I'm getting it translated, and so each page is going to have it. The pages are going to be written in English, in Spanish, in Swahili, and in Nepalese. And so all of the
Wow.
places that we work, we're never going to have to reprint or anything. All these kids will be able to read them and also see what these words are like in other languages. So we're kind of building on that global impact piece.
God, that's amazing.
So
God, Dave, you're freaking amazing.
oh, sweetheart, we're from the same mold. I
Yeah,
mean,
yeah. No, you're
you
just
know,
such an inspiration.
it's been a fun career, Brooke, and an amazing ride. And I'll have to be honest with you, I have been propped up on shoulders of people for a long time. I have the ability to have an audience by being a zookeeper. But so many people have devoted so much time and energy and passion to this project as well. So it's definitely not a one trick pony. It's a community effort. Even Ray, my husband, who when we got together, he knew nothing about animals. He didn't even recycle. I was like, like what? So
Yeah.
I bought a recycle bin, and now he's the assistant director of the fund. He's been in Nepal 3 times. He just loves all the work we're doing. He did all the graphics for the last 2 books,
That's
and
amazing.
he is so committed to the organization and conservation. Tomorrow, he's doing a whole talk tomorrow because I'll be at the zoo working. He's going to be doing a whole presentation to a business group about our organization. I just sent it to him, and he's gonna take off and do that because I have to work. So he already knows now. He can talk conservation so well. I'm so proud of him.
God, that's amazing. Because you 2 just got married, right? It was very recent.
Yeah. Yeah, we got married in October on the 11th.
Oh,
So we got married, and then we lived through COVID together. So we survived we survived COVID and a marriage.
good, good.
We
Oh my gosh,
survived 2 weeks together in pajamas and Netflix as we got
yeah.
to feeling better. So
Yeah, how'd that go? So, yeah, so you 2 did catch COVID. So, like, how are you now? How are you guys feeling? Are you feeling okay now?
yeah, much better, much better.
Oh, good.
Ray had worse symptoms. He had it worse than I did. He lost 20 pounds. I gained five
What?
pounds. Yeah, yeah.
You just traded. You just
Yeah,
traded.
yeah. I was eating throughout, and he was like, "Oh, nothing tastes good. I'm not gonna eat. I just want Jello." Um, and so I was, I had to be home. We had to quarantine together. So we just watched a lot of TV and wore pajamas and took naps together. But it was a little scary because as you see your partner's oxygen levels dropping as his fever continues. His oxygen went down to 92. And I was worried about when I take him to the hospital, and how long is this going to be, months that we're going to be battling this. I mean, there are some people out there that have really suffered through this virus, and just horror stories. And you wonder, is your situation going to turn into a horror story? And it's a little frightening. And then every day that you're feeling better, it's a little bit takes some of that pressure and stress off of you. But I'll tell you what, getting back to the zoo, getting back to my team, and there are some really good therapy animals at our at our zoo. Um, Rudy the rhino, Mahali the hippo, getting to work with them and getting back to them and seeing them really, I think, helped with the healing process. Uh, my first day back, though, it felt like I was working on the top of a 14er. I was so tired and winded.
Oh my god, I bet.
But
I
yeah,
bet.
today was great. So I'm 6 days back to the zoo. So I'm doing well. Thanks
Oh
for
my god,
asking.
I'm glad. Yeah, no, I was really worried about you because when we connected to do this, this conversation today, you're like, "Yeah, so I have COVID right now. Ray also has COVID." And I'm like, "Jesus, are you okay? Number 1, we can chat whenever later down the road. First of all, are you okay?" So no, that's really great to hear it. Oh my god,
Yeah,
I'm glad, I'm glad, I'm glad.
and we don't
So
know
how did
where.
you meet?
What's
Oh,
that?
go ahead. No,
We
go
don't know
ahead.
how we got it. Really, we had
Mhm.
we had shut down socially. We'd done a couple things right around Halloween, and Ray said, "Hey, we need to be better." We hadn't gone to anything crazy, but we had been to people's house for a dinner, and so he said we should shut this down. And then around November 8th, 9th is when he started feeling sick. But
Mm.
so yeah, so it's still a mystery how it got us.
I'm just so glad that you 2 are okay. The
Thanks.
world still needs you too.
Still too much to do. I'm I'm
Exactly.
I'm too spicy to go yet.
Yeah, yeah. It's not your time yet. No COVID for you. So how did you meet Ray? I don't think I've ever actually had the opportunity to ask you that.
We were all in a friends group, and one of our friends, Greg, introduced Ray to me and my ex buddy, and there we had about 8 guys that all hung out together and did stuff together. And then Ray was seeing somebody long distance in Jersey, and I was seeing Buddy, and as things changed, I became single and Ray became single, and we took our friendship. We would go hiking and stuff together, and talk about our relationships ending. And we kind of were, kind of on each other's shoulder, like, God, this is crappy, because me and Buddy had been together, I think, for 11 years. Uh,
Wow,
and
that's a long time.
and it's a tough, thing when you feel like you're pulling apart and everything. So we would go hiking. It was so funny. Ray back then acted like he liked hiking, and
Just trying to
uh,
impress you.
oh yeah, he was definitely when I moved in with him later on. Those hiking boots like went right under the bed, and he was like, "Oh, he's like, you're going on a death march." That's what he called my hikes. He goes, "I'm not going on a death march today."
Aw.
But that's kind of how it happened. It grew out of friendship, and it grew out of us kind of being there for each other during some hard times. So that's kind of, and which is kind of nice. You start off as friends, and then it just kind of develops.
That's awesome. Um, and feel free to, if you're not comfortable answering, that's totally okay. But how does it feel, or what have you experienced being a gay man in the conservation fields? That since that's not something I've asked you before, or nothing that I know from personal hand experience. Like, what have you experienced in your years in the field?
Well, I've not really had any real bad experiences, to be honest
Mm,
with you. We did try to keep our wedding kind of under wraps with our global community. Some of the places we work, homosexuality is still illegal and banned, and so we didn't really want a lot of people in some of these other countries to know, because it could be dangerous, for us in some of these countries. But as far as being out in Colorado and working in amongst the conservation community, I have never felt one iota of of disrespect or disregard. I think I think there are so many gay people in our field. I think the animal field has a lot of very compassionate, empathetic people that really love animals, and the horse community, the dog community, the zoo community just has a lot of gay couples, male and female, and I think it becomes kind of the norm that you're just kind of used to a lot of these partnerships developing between same sex, and I've never felt bad. I think that's a lot of the reason I left the South. I left, my family and the Carolinas, and wanted to come out here because Denver was a very liberal community, and immediately, they had benefits for same-sex partners. Marriage wasn't legal then, but they let you put your partner on your insurance, with the city of Denver. And I was like, wow, what a progressive way to treat people. It's very the humanity here was overwhelming. And when I finally came out at the zoo to some of my friends, I thought, oh gosh, I want to make it through, 6 months before I start telling people, because I don't want them to judge me. And I ended up telling people like at 2 months, and they were like, "Pfft, so is it, do you know how many gay people work here?" It was like
oh, wow.
it was a non-issue. They're like, oh my gosh, this person in horticulture, these people, that person in that works with cats, that person in primates, it's like, there's a lot of gay people here. Why didn't you want to introduce us to your boyfriend? I was like, oh, I was like, I didn't know how people would take it. And coming from the South, you just are very protective, I think, of your feelings, it was always something that, you're kind of in the closet there. Um, but yeah, but this has been, Ray's bringing me another beer. He's such a good
I know,
guy.
that looked like the beer nod. I recognize that nod. I give it to Lee all the time
Yeah,
as
yeah,
well. I'm
you're
like,
you're
"Yeah,
you're good,
refill?
Brooke.
Refill?
Help a lady
Please?"
out.
Yeah, Lord. I got the door closed, or I know he would refill it for me. He's good at that. Mm. Mhm. No, thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
Honestly, like, thank you, 'cause, I don't know how many people have heard a story like that, and to hear that, like, especially in other places,
Mhm,
sometimes you do need to move, and to hear that so you did come out in Colorado, like, so you
mhm,
did leave home,
mhm.
and so did you have, like, girlfriends growing
Yeah.
up or
Had
Yep.
girlfriends up until I was about 25, and
Wow, that's
so,
a long time.
yeah, so but it was something that I knew, and I was just trying to make the rest of my family and the world happy. So I was not being honest with myself, so I changed out. I took Charmaine home, um, to the family. She was a teacher, a really sweet lady, and then I replaced her with Bob, my first my
That's
first real
amazing.
my first real boyfriend, and the family just had a meltdown and was just like, "Oh
Oh,
no, he can't come here for Christmas." And so I applied for a job and got hired in Denver, and I left, and I was just like, I said, you guys enjoy. I'm gonna be gone, because you could just tell, from some of the family's reactions, and how they treated you after they found out that I was with a guy. It was a lot different. But to be honest with you, things have so changed over the years, and it's become so much better. Very much more tolerant. My family loves Ray. They're
he's
so
easy to
supportive.
love.
Well, we go home together. I think my grandmother was the very best about it. And even her generation, I think she was like, hey, my love is unconditional. You be who you need to be, even if it's out there in Colorado, far away from where you grew up. And I think that made a huge difference. And Brooke, since I've been out and honest and open, I've had so many zoo crew and explorer kids come out to me that just needed somebody to talk to. And I mean, probably 10 or 12 now that have come to work with me in Packies, or had me as a mentor or an advisor, and just, I've wanted to talk with you because, I'm bi, or I'm struggling with my identity. My parents, don't want me to date a girl. They want me to have a boyfriend, and so both sexes, and I think it spreads around with the kids that I'm open and honest, and we'll talk about stuff like that with them, and give them some feedback. And so it's been amazing. And with the turnaround with the scouts, because our zoo explorers are through the scouts. My boss for years was like, "Hey, don't tell anybody," and it changed over the years to where I was out and telling all the kids, and never got any trouble from the Boy Scouts. And I feel like I've made a difference in some of these kids' lives, because I can't imagine as a teenager having somebody that I could have talked to about, about these pains, this angst that you feel when you realize, like, oh crap, I like guys better than girls. I'm dating a girl, but I'm more attracted to her father or her brother. you know it's like, wow,
Yeah.
this pretty girl I love, she's awesome, but oh my god, there's her dad driving by on a lawnmower with his shirt off, and I'm like, what's wrong with me? So I would have loved having somebody to be able to chat with about stuff like that, and figure out that you're not broken. You are who you are, and you should be able to love who you love. And because of that, what was allowed to grow within me, once I loved myself and was able to be myself, that's what led to all this other stuff, all these other doors opening, because I got to Denver and I accepted who I was. And I had a wonderful community that accepted me for who I was. And they love, they love me and Ray, together. And they love that we're a union and a couple, and don't feel at all uh, at any unease about us being around. So I think that's been very special for me, Brooke, and just another reason that I love Colorado.
Mm, that's so beautiful. Thanks for sharing that. I really do appreciate it.
You're
So
welcome.
any advice that you have given to anybody who either hasn't come out or maybe they're scared to travel or anything like that who is in, the LGBTQ community, what is some advice that you have for them either like coming out or maybe traveling internationally, like any kind of advice that you have given before? Kind of what would you say to people?
Yeah, when we went to Tanzania, we had a couple of youngsters that were very outspoken and very out in the community, already very politically active, and had a lot of very gay friendly shirts. Lots of rainbows and lots of and I had to talk with them, Brooke, about leaving that kind of stuff at home, and it was a hard conversation because you want people to be able to be themselves, but I had to tell them it's like this is for our safety as a group. This is for your safety over in these countries because we're going to be far away from a lot of our kind of political views and our so, and I think they took it really well. But my advice here is for always for them to be themselves, and that they'll know the right time to come out when it's going to be when it's going to be right for their family and their parents. And you can tell the ones that are ready to take that step. And I've always offered, any help if you want me to be there, if you want me to go with you and be at the dinner or whatnot. But I think I've really tried to have people understand that whether they're with opposite sex or same sex, it's not, understand that everything is freakishly, filtered down to like, scary levels when you're 16, when you're 17. But in just a few years, it's not going to be a big deal. It's not going to be. You're going to be in college. You're going to be out of the house. You're not going to be under this microscope of who are you dating, who are you seeing, and so for me, I think advising them about the timing and about understanding that who they love is every year that I get older, it matters less and less, to the rest of the world. People are coming out in middle school now. They've got LGBTQ help groups, in fifth and sixth grade. And I was just like, wow, that is amazing. Coming from somebody that always knew, but didn't have the power to come out within myself until I was 25, and kind of did it as a drop the mic, okay, bye, I'm gay, moving to
Here's
Denver.
Bob.
Yeah, yeah. Here's
Yeah.
Bob. Oh, you don't like him? Okay.
I'm peacing out anyways, so bye.
No, you can't call Charmaine. I'm not getting back with
Yeah, no,
her.
you can't call Charmaine. Is her dad single? That's what I want to know. Oh, so funny. No, thanks for that. Thanks for that, for sure. Um, just yeah, having traveled to like international places and just having to walk that fine line. I mean, even just being a woman in other
Yeah.
countries,
Mhm.
just alone, like
Yeah.
dressing incredibly conservatively. Like I've
Mhm.
been to some places where I stuck out like a sore thumb. So, like, completely understand. I mean, it's just noticing that it's not necessarily you. It's like it's a completely different culture. Like
Mhm.
we live in an amazing country that is so accepting no matter what anybody's political views are, no matter what anyone feels in this recent election or anything. Like
Mhm.
we live in an insanely amazing country.
Mhm.
And I think that it takes traveling to these other places to really see that. to
Mhm.
really experience it firsthand, what it's like to not be yourself just because of who you are. Like,
Mhm.
just because I am the way I am, I'm not accepted here.
Mhm.
And I think that's you grow a lot as a person
Mhm.
when you really see what that's like in other places. So,
And I mean,
thanks for sharing.
you've experienced that, Brooke, at a very young age. You've had your eyes opened to that, because you've been out there way earlier than I was, and you've really had people show you this road that you're on. And you're right. Being a woman, I mean, I see it a lot. You have to be very, very careful and cautious over there. It's a it's a big world, but you're right about here. For the most part, our country is very tolerant and loving, no matter what your religion or your ethnicity. Or I feel a lot of warmth from the Denver community, no matter what you bring to the table, and
Yeah.
that's why I've wanted to stay here. I really have. I've wanted to stay here because working alongside a bunch of different people and realizing that you know the love that people share is just boundless.
I completely agree. Like the community is so immense. Like it's so immense. It's really amazing. It's like once you get into the network, then I mean you're in. Then you're
Hmm.
in and you know everybody and we've had the opportunity to meet so many people through you and through everyone else. So it's been quite amazing. Yeah. Yeah. So I kind of now I really wanted to chat about just so okay, so it kind of makes sense how you said with the Zodiac kids, that's kind of how at least some of the recent projects that you've done have been born out of.
Hmm.
But to come back to KACF, what are some of the projects that you've done and what have you expanded to? What are some of the countries that you work in most? Kind of share with that how you pick regions to go to.
Well, Nepal was our first, and that was because we talked about that, the Asian elephants, greater one-horned rhinos, and when we started moving into other areas, India, because it was right near Nepal, and so that was kind of an easy move. We did we helped support some researchers down there that were working with sloth bears and pangolin, and so then I think the Zodiac Kids book did help us branch out. But a good story that I like to tell people when they talk about this is I had one of my Zoo Explorer scouts, Keith Erickson. He climbed Kilimanjaro with us for black rhinos. Then he went down to Costa Rica with us, and he climbed mountains down there for jaguars, and helped start the sea turtle work that we're doing. Jaguar is February, sea turtle is August, so got two animals in, and he came to me and he said, "Dave, I love doing this stuff with you. You're so passionate about pachyderms and now jaguars and sea turtles, because but he said, I love frogs and amphibians are getting hit so hard now on the planet.
The
We're losing,
chytrid and
yes, the chytrid
habitat loss.
fungus, yes, and we're just losing so many of our frogs and toads and salamanders and everything." And so he said, "That's my passion." And I said, "Well, I said, Keith, you've been right here with us for years. Him and his brother Craig, we're zoo explorers." I said, "You find something that you want to commit to and bring it to me." And he did. He found some work going on down with Wakiri in Ecuador, and we've sent him down now twice to do some frog conservation work. And that's how that has grown, just because somebody in our community brought that up and has their own passion. I had a keeper come to me, and she was just so heartbroken about not getting involved with conservation. She had moved from Disney to Denver to get involved, and she just kept getting turned down and turned down. And she came to me and she had big tears in her eyes. She goes, "I just want to go work with vultures and penguins, and I came to Denver to do that, and I've been here like 10 years and I've not been allowed the chance to do it." And so we got to send her down to work with sandcob, and she got to release African penguins back to the wild. And she gave a presentation to our community, Brooke, and broke into tears, talking about getting to do that. And so we sent her down to work with Volpro. So she got to work with vultures and with penguins, and that's exactly what she wanted to do. And that's what when I have these zookeepers that come to me with the same problems that I had a decade ago, 15 years ago, that are struggling with who am I? What am I doing in this career? I don't want to just be a shit shoveler. I want to make a difference. Help me make a difference. And now we have 53 staff involved all around the world that are going all these places that they dream of, and we're helping to support them. And that's how this thing is moving out. When I have a primate keeper come and say, "Hey, the zoo won't help me with these miraquai, these woolly spider monkeys. There are two female spider monkeys in Brazil, and there are no males at this park. And I need $1,000 to get to this organization to catch those two female miraquai, very endangered primate, and move them somewhere where they can breed and have offspring." Um, and so we did that together. I gave her $1,000 and they moved those female miraquai. But I said, "Hey, this is not just Daddy Warbucks giving you money." I said, this is a commitment. This is a process, a plan. What are we going to do together? So that $1,000 to Abby from Uruguay turned into us having a comedy event, and her all female improv group performed, and we ended up making $3,000 that night. And that's what Abby brought to the table once we had helped her establish that stuff in Brazil. So it all just I think it all just feeds off of positivity. And I would have never thought about a Miraquai. I would have never thought about this Brazil work, but she turned us on to something, and we made it happen. And I think that's what the KACF has done for me, is to allowed me to help other zookeepers and people that have passion be able to reach their dreams, because it's important, Brooke. It really is. It's it changes the way you look about your job and your career if you're just allowed to do just a little bit to make a difference in the positive for the planet. And that's why I've been really open to all these different communities, and who wants to do stuff, as long as it's not outrageous and it's going to cost us like $50,000 or something. But we gotta say no sometimes. But for the most part, we've been very willing to get people involved in their dreams. Got to send some guys down to work with bees in Africa, that are work with bees here in Colorado. Sent some of our staff. We sent some primate keepers and a maintenance guy down to Ecuador to work on some primate rewilding projects. So getting howler monkeys and spider monkeys back to the wild, and having two primate keepers and a guy that was into fabrication and welding and could help a facility like that. So it's all about taking this big table of a puzzle. To me, this is how my life is now, and trying to make everything kind of fit together cohesively to where everybody's happy and challenged and making a difference in the world. So
That's amazing. Yeah. I mean, being on the receiving end, because I went to Tanzania last
yep,
year
yep.
and I was just a tag along. I mean, I had a freaking blast. I had so much fun.
I
You can
loved
ask
watching you
Courtney. Yeah, I
dancing with
was
the
dancing
ladies.
the whole time.
Yeah, Courtney and Judy both said there was way too much dancing. We had to dance with every women's group for 4 days. They were all like
Yep.
blowing those whistles and dancing. But those are the things that just grow out of Hey, we've got this Diana Inchambe, this lady that's a chief warden, 30 chief wardens in Tanzania, one woman. And I had three really up and coming power women like Courtney, and I was like, hey, elephants are matrilineal. They're girl power. Diana's girl power. Let's do a girl power trip. These women dancing here in their community are all girl power. And so it was all about building up women And the women in our community, like yourself, Brooke, it's the future of conservation. When I got into this field, it was a bunch of sausage. It was all guys, you know.
Just sausage.
And now now the women are taking over and doing such amazing things, so cheers to you guys, and for y'all to go to Tanzania as a group of gals together. And we're like, yeah, we're gonna go watch some dancing, we're gonna go travel around Tanzania together.
It
I,
was it was life-changing, that's for sure. It was awesome. I'm really glad I was there. I mean, I've traveled like that before, so it wasn't as much of a culture shock, I think, as
uh-huh.
for some of the ladies on the trip, which was amazing. Courtney and I bonded very hard on that trip. She's like, "Thank God you're here." No, we had a lot of fun.
Somebody
We
else
had
that's
so much fun.
been abroad and can help me.
Exactly.
And
And
Courtney
it's
was
been through
just
some
there.
crap.
Courtney was there with us the year before, and so she got to meet all those players. And so, now she's in Houston. She just won our Katie Award this year for all the stuff. We were supposed to be down in Houston, working together. COVID kind of stopped all of that, but now she's training tigers, and I'm hoping to get her to Nepal, working with our tiger conservation community next year. So let me know if you're free.
She and I might have talked about that. So now you're in the loop that conversation has happened. But no, yeah, for real. I was like, I'm not joking. I was like, "Do you wanna do a repeat?" She's like, "Do you wanna come to Nepal?" I'm like,
We've seen lion and
"So"
cheetah and leopard together, so we need to now go to Asia.
Yeah. Well, so now that this trip has just been sprouted, we'll just leave that there.
It would be
That would
great
be
because of
incredible.
your cat passion and your background. It would be awesome. We've got some leopard stuff going on there, some tiger stuff going on there,
Mm.
clouded leopards, snow leopard, fishing cats. It's such a great community. Now we have these three girls that are doing snow leopard work in Dolpa that Alex Dudley just found, and there are three women that are starting up the snow leopard conservation work, and they are seeing snow leopards and taking people up in the winter and trekking up there and showing them snow leopards, and so it's going to be amazing. So
Can I
uh,
meet them? That's like the next species on my list that I'm dying to see. I've seen so many of the big cats, but snow leopards is insanely high on my list now.
that's where we're going to be moving next, and engage those gals, and with our strong women community, and help them out because they started this themselves. So I've just been the main girl, Shearing is her name, and we've been talking via email. But they're just starting this out in Dolpa, and that's where the snow leopard. That's where George Schaller and Peter Matheson kind of did their snow leopard trekking back in the day. So if you haven't read that book, that is a awesome, awesome read.
What's the book called? I'll make sure I put it, in the notes for this episode.
It's called The Snow Leopard by Peter Matheson, and it's
Okay.
it's about him and George Schaller. And there's just it really made me want to go to Nepal when I read that book back in the day. I was just like, man, that is one country. Seeing Chitwan, and I haven't seen snow leopards either. We tracked up in the Annapurnas with one of our groups last year, but seeing a snow leopard in the wild would also be on my list. So it may be an all gals team with Dave. I'll have to wear a wig.
You're always accepted. Dave, you can always come. You will always be the exception in any trip you're allowed.
Who's that burly, hairy woman?
She needs to shave in the
Yeah.
morning. Who is
Helga, get up here.
No, that'd be wonderful. That would be wonderful. And even just them coming on and sharing their story here, like, that would be incredible as well. Like, anything that we can do as a community to,
Yeah.
just help out everybody's story get out, that would be incredible.
I've got a couple of keepers down the springs that want to do some snow leopard stuff. So I figure, and they're both girls, and so I think it'd be a really great fit. My
Mm,
books are
mhm.
they sell my books down at the Cheyenne Mountain Zoo, and so a portion of that is gonna go to Keeper Travel. So I told Sarah and Basha that we could try to get them over to Nepal. But just fleshing this out now, it's a definitely a new find. Our conservation liaison, Alex Dudley, I've known him at the zoo since probably he was in high school, and he found these ladies for us. So he's been doing a lot of work for us on the side. He's a conservation journalist and everything. I think you've met him at some maybe the cheetah event. But he
That name sounds insanely familiar. Yes.
so yeah, he's been working with the fund since he got out of grad school. He just finished his master's and was in Uganda working around Kabali with the chimps and gorillas and stuff. So
Mhm.
finish that up, and so he found these gals, and we've been chatting via email. She's out in the field right now. She's going to be away for like a month, but she said she left me some really positive messages about what we could do together. I think we're both excited. I think we could both really help each other out with this new partnership
That's
and
amazing.
check those off our list, Brooke. Get to see a
Yes, we
snow
gotta
leopard
go
in the wild.
together. We gotta go together. We have not I mean, of everything that we've done, we've not traveled together yet, so we definitely need to check that one off the list too.
Oh my god. We'll have to have a special group with us because they'll be like, "Oh
Yeah.
my god, you can't shut them 2 up."
No, it would just be constant. It would be nonstop. We would just
Pull
have
the
so
a
much fun.
pull the alcohol away from them.
No, I agree. I've always wanted to ask you this. What is your craziest or funniest travel story?
Oh gosh, craziest or funniest travel story?
This might be the same thing, but
Yeah. Well, um, and I one of my favorite crazy stories, in Nepal is, Ray's first trip. And there's a bull elephant and must around the village and around Bardia National Park, and he's in must and just hormonally challenged, destroyed a vehicle by Forest Hideaway where we were at the night before, and you can smell him, Brooke. I mean that bull elephant and must. I mean, it is just this reeking sex smell, and so we're out doing Bardia boot camp, which is like all day hiking out in the national park, which is incredible. It is hard. You know, you pretty much go out from 7 in the morning till 7 at night, and you probably put in 10 or 12 miles, you know, where there are tiger, elephants, rhinos, cobra. It's amazing. But Ray's first trip there, um, we had a hike unlike one we had ever had before. um, we were trying to avoid this bull elephant, you know, looking for his tracks, looking for his dung, trying to figure out where this guy was. Then a rhino was on the trail right in front of us, and we all stopped, and it was just like almost like dominoes, like everybody kind of hit, and somebody's water bottle crinkled, and so the rhino spun around, and it ran at us and then ran parallel through all this brush. And so, I mean, talking about changing your underwear, it was like, you know, 5,000 pounds running at you, and then decided to veer off, you know. And so it was like, oh my God, that was so close. Wow, that was crazy. That's going to be a story for us when we get home. 5 minutes later, our guide just elevates up off the ground, and he's taking his stick and knocking it on the trail. There's a black cobra on the trail right in front of us, and Ray hates snakes, and so he's like, "Oh God, there was a cobra like right in front of me." The cobra takes off, so we keep walking, avoiding the bull elephant, and we come up through the trees into these grasses. All this elephant grass is like 10, 12 feet high, and you have to walk through on a path through all this elephant grass. And they've told you that if you have to run from this bull elephant, you have to run and zigzag and make quick turns because the elephant can catch you. And so they're telling us this, and then we have to walk through this this line where if you zigzag, it's going to be, you know, you're not going to be able to move at all because all these grasses. So it's like uh, very nerve wracking. We went probably a few hundred yards into the grasses and then smelled that bull elephant again. Everybody stopped. And our guides, there's one in the back and one in the front. They both have bamboo sticks. That's our only protection. Nobody has a gun, nobody has a flare, a fire thrower, nothing like that. It's like two bamboo sticks. And we've stopped, and all of us are like, all right, we smell it. It's close. Um, where are we getting ready to run to? And right behind Ray, burst out of the grasses these three red jungle fowl, which are pretty much chickens. But they made the ruckus right behind him, and he screamed so loud, just this high pitched, like a kindergarten girl on fire. It was just like ah. Um, and they were just jungle fowl. It wasn't an elephant killing him. And Chuck, my keeper assistant, he was laughing so hard, Brooke. He had tears rolling down his cheeks. And Ray was like, shut up, Chuck. He said there were three chickens. They flew out behind my feet. They scared me. And Chuck was like, actually, there were four chickens over there. So we had some beers back at camp, and everybody's hands were kind of shaking from that walk. But that was one of the crazier days in Nepal, out in the field. Rhino, cobra, bull elephant, and chickens.
And chickens, including your husband.
Yeah, including my
Including
husband.
your husband.
200-pound chicken.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, that's incredible. I know. I'm kind of, whew, that was good. That was great. Oh my gosh, thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, no, that's been great. So, kind of now, what asks do you have of anybody listening for next steps of maybe what they can do in their lives on how they can help the wildlife that you love so much?
um, I think people listening, they can have us out. We're trying to get in all 50 states. So we're slowly trying to go do talks and sell our kids' books in all 50 states. So every year we put a few new ones in. We went up and spoke in Minnesota last year, and it's ended up we're going to take some surgeons from the Mayo Clinic to South Africa with us. They want to get involved. They want to do some conservation trips with us. But I think having us out, selling the kids' books with us. I'm trying to get schools, Brooke, to sell conservation instead of cookies and candy and popcorn. These kids come to your door all the time and they want to sell candy bars or anything, but books last longer and they don't make your kids fat. And
That's a
so
plus.
yeah.
No diabetes.
No diabetes. So many good things come out of doing conservation instead of cookies and candy. But that would be really helpful. And we do conservation work with schools to where they get half of the funds. So if you sell a Zodiac Kids book, it's $12. Our KACF gets six, and your school gets six for your soccer tournament, for your library, for whatever you're raising money for. So that's been that's been an ask for this past year, and I think with the new book coming out next spring, I'll have four books out there, and it's just it'd be great for people in some of the states. You can look at the states on our map on the website and see if we've been to your state, but maybe have us out. We were supposed to be in Houston last year, Chicago. We were supposed to be back up in San Francisco. They're selling our books at the three zoos in the Bay Area, and we've got some schools there. We got shut down this year, but we hopefully will be back at it next year, and so maybe we can come visit you. We got a little girl in Ohio that is making bracelets for rhinos. Her name is Harper, and so she really wanted us to come out and see her. Over They had a little fundraiser in February, but we were going to Nepal, so I couldn't make to her fundraiser. But Harper has made so many bracelets, and she has donated thousands of dollars to the KACF, and she's 7. She's 7 years old,
Wow.
and we're highlighting her in December. Now we're in our Rhino month, So we're going to highlight her and all of her work and all of her rhino passion. But I think those would be some of the things, Brooke, and maybe join us somewhere on the planet. Go to Costa Rica with us. We're going to go reforest Borneo. We're going to go plant some trees in Borneo next year. We're going to go to South Africa. We're planning on going back to Nepal. We may have a wedding to go attend. So one of the gals that we helped get through college, we put her through college. She's getting married, so we may all go back next year and go to her wedding. So
Wow. Oh my gosh. Well, I said so. I'm turning 30 next year.
oh,
So I
that's a
just had my birthday, literally just had my birthday. So this is like my last year in my 20s. And so next year I was like, I really want to go to Costa Rica.
okay.
So I'm just going to drop that right there.
Well, if is your birthday in November or December?
November
November?
28th.
November 28th. Okay. So you're a orca. You're
I'm an orca?
that's your totem
Oh,
animal.
that's
So
awesome.
we're working with a scientist up out of Seattle, Dr. Giles, and her dog sniffs out orca poop. So
What?
yeah, the dog
That's
finds
insanely
orca poop,
cool.
and they can check DNA. They can check for cortisol levels for stress in the orca population. So that's your birthday totem, Miss Brooke.
Oh my gosh,
Um,
that's awesome. Of
but
course, it's just a water predator. It just makes sense.
of course, but
Just makes sense.
but
Wolves of the sea,
we were supposed to be in Costa Rica in October for when all the sea turtles come to shore and lay their eggs, and they have jaguars that prey on them. And there were four of us going to be hiking down with our team and camping out in tents and seeing the jaguar that are preying on the sea turtles or stuff. So something that
So my birthday
might be
trip
cool
should
for
be
your 30th.
as you're saying.
You might have to
Well,
go
that'd
with
be
us. You might have to go
yes.
with us. So
I'll just bring Lee along. Like I said, he has muscles. It's great. If you ever need anybody to move anything, he's the guy for you.
he can carry your pack.
Exactly. He can carry all the things.
Hey, Sherpa Lee, get over here.
Exactly.
But yeah, that Arabada, like hundreds and hundreds of sea turtles are there at that time of year, and
Wow.
so we had to cancel. We couldn't go, but that's definitely some place that I want to be this next year too. So Costa
Wow.
Rica, take it off your list, and getting to
Let's
see
go.
jaguar, getting to see jaguar in the wild. They had video, Brooke, like 10 feet away, just them sitting there watching this jaguar eating on a sea turtle, and they filmed it with their phones.
That's
So
insane. Yeah, I mean, I was supposed to be in the Pantanal this past September to see jaguars, but life had other plans, which is totally fine.
mhm.
So if I get to see him in Costa Rica, which that's even way more rare, so that would
Right.
be more special. So
And that would be
that's fun.
on foot instead of on a boat. So
Oh my god, you're dropping that nugget. That might just have to happen.
Sorry, Courtney. No Nepal.
Sorry, Courtney. Maybe both. We'll figure it out. We'll figure it out. Oh, no, that's great, Dave. Thank you. So what are some of the ways that people can connect with you? Like, what's your website? Are you on any social media platforms?
Yeah, I think the easiest is kacf.eco is our website, Katie Adamson Conservation Fund. And then Heather Schwartz is our social media director. So she's really active for us on Facebook and Instagram. And so we've got a big presence there. And our Katie's Night event, we had to do virtual back in October. We moved it a couple times, hoping that we could do a live event, but we ended up having a virtual event. So, and we sell animal art and stuff. So, we had a wolf speaker. So, if anybody wants to get up with us for Katie's Night, we had almost 400 people on our Zoom, and we ended up making $36,000, Brooke, in one night. So that was
That's amazing.
pretty special. That goes so far in all the countries where we work. It's just amazing how that money will be stretched between Tanzania, Nepal, Costa Rica, Ecuador, Vietnam. So so yeah, but yeah, so see us on the website and reach out to me if you have some kids or schools or any uh, any type of partnership that we could do together, that would be great. I'd love to come out and do talks for the community, and so I'm kind of a slut that way. I get around.
Talk slut.
I'm off on Tuesdays and Wednesdays, so I can go to schools on my days off. When that was still when schools were open, and it's fun juggling all that stuff and staying busy. It's been a pretty exciting run the last few years. So I look forward to 2021 and seeing what's going to open up, Brooke, for me and you both.
Yeah,
Maybe, maybe,
absolutely.
maybe several trips together.
Maybe. I love the sound of that. I'm totally down. Awesome. Well, this is great, Dave. And until next time.
Thank you.
Hey, thanks again for listening to this episode of Rewildology. If you like what you heard, hit that subscribe button to never miss a future episode. Do you have a cool environmental organization, travel, story, or research that you'd like to share? Let me know at rewildology.com. Until next time, friends, together we will rewild the planet.